All right, hello. How are y'all doing today?
You stay on, not yet. You stay with us. We'll be right on. Okay. We're gonna get the guest right on. You hang in. Anne Marie will come in. Then I'm gonna bring you in. So thank you for being with us. So just hold on 1 second, and we'll get the wheels of progress moving here on the six screens.
You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. In Disney.
Well, hello and welcome into another Sunday afternoon up here in Massachusetts. That's where I'm coming from. My name is Rick Farron. I'm at the control panel. That's where all of the programs channeled through. We keep an eye on the telephone lines. We keep an eye on making sure all the programs go off without too many problems. So far, so good. We're running really good today. But we have got Anne Marie. She's going to be coming on. She's a former Jehovah's Witness. Now, the program that you are on right now, the program is called Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses Share Their Story of Being in the Watchtower. You don't want to miss this program. We do have a person coming on. He's an author, and he's got a lot to talk about. He's a former Jehovah's Witness as well. So let's bring Anne Marie on, and she can say hello to the audience. Hello, Anne Marie.
Hello, my brother Rick. Happy Six Screen Sunday.
Well, listen, every day I say, Anne Marie, I'm happy, but I hope you're doing good. Now, I know you really love doing these programs, but sometimes, you get run down, you get the flu, you get a cold, you can't do it. So if you have a problem today, you by all means let me know, okay?
Yes, my brother.
Okay.
It's Susan there too.
Yeah, Susan's here as well. Listening in, and we got a number of people coming in. So we do have a guest. Would you like to Would you like to have him come on and speak with you?
Would I like to have a what, dear?
Would you like to have the man come on now and talk with you? You're all set to go?
Absolutely. Can I have a name or anything?
Yeah, in fact, I'm going to bring him on. And he's going to give you everything. Caller, I'm not sure. Was it Emil? Was that your name, Emil, last night? I'm sorry, I didn't write it down. I should have. Is that?
Yes, that was it.
Oh, it's Emil. Okay, all right, I remember that. All right, so we do have Anne Marie on here, Emil. So she's going to talk with you, and we're looking forward to what you have to say. Anne Marie, it's all yours.
Well, thank you, my brother. Happy afternoon, or wherever you are. It's morning over here. How are you, Emil?
Hello. It's a pleasure being here with you all virtually.
And it's a pleasure to have you. I'm so happy you came on today, Emil. Let me introduce the show to everyone. This does go on the archive. And this is only every other Sunday, so it's, to me, a very special day. I want to welcome everyone in to Six Screen Sunday. We only have it twice a week, and this show is Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses tell their story. So many times when someone comes in to comment, they want to get into telling their story. And I always have to kind of, wait a minute, there's a time for that. And this is the time for that. So I want to thank you, Emil, for being willing to come in and to tell your story, to share whatever's in your heart. Would you like to just talk at your own pace and I'll be right here with you? Or would you want me to try to interview you? What is the most comfortable way?
Well, I was going to share some things if I was able to in my book. I wrote 2 books recently this year. One of them is In the Name of Cult, The Climax of Narcissism and Insanity. And the other book is Exposing the Holier Than None. And so In the Name of Cult, it like last night I was reading out of In the Name of Cult. And that one is more pertained to cults like Watchtower specifically, but it teaches people about like how they all operate through that one. And exposing the holier than none goes into more stuff of like cancer, how like the charities get over on people, play on their emotions, and it goes deeper into like broader aspects of. Um, but I can definitely share some things, and you can ask questions if you want. But this one, I think for this environment, in the name of cult, when I was reading, the first is the introduction. What is a cult? Recruiting, indoctrination, scaremongering, high control methods, manipulation, mental prison, no way out, how many leave, the time of betrayal, disposal, and conclusion. Was there any particular part that you all would like me to read or touch on?
Oh, the one that.
Or do you just want to hear my?
What? This is Rick here. The one that kind of was one on there about betrayal. What was that title? I didn't get it all.
Victor, he had a cult-specific book, too, that in the name of cult was JW specific.
Yeah, in fact,
Right.
he did. In fact, he was mentioning that last night. Some of the stuff he was mentioning was quite interesting. But before Emil, before we probably get into the books, could I just ask a couple questions?
Sure.
Yeah. So you are a former Jehovah's Witness. Is that what you did mention last night? Yeah.
Yes, I did. But I mean, yes, sir. But at this point, I don't want anything to do with cults or anybody's religion or anything. That's long gone.
Oh yeah, no. That's how long have you been out?
Well, pandemic.
Yeah, since the pandemic. Well, what was? I'm just curious, and we'll get into your books because it's fascinating what you're going to say, I'm sure. But let me just get an idea of what got you out during the pandemic. What rocked your boat, so to speak, Emil?
Well, it was a lot of different things, but I think that ultimately I kind of stayed in longer. Actually, honestly, past then. But it was ultimately the insanity. The insanity ended up leading to, and I wrote it in my book, the insanity, the narcissism, the codependency. It basically, I basically was so depressed, and I didn't really know it at the time. I thought everything was normal with my mental health. I thought, things were going fine for me, and and I thought I was doing the right thing, and I was being told that everything I was doing was right, which was to not get a skill, to not focus on my skill, to not develop myself, and so you all know that they are making progress is not applicable in life at all unless you're making progress for the cult. So if you're not doing something for the cult, even if you're taking care of yourself, that's a problem. So, ultimately, I neglected myself, taking care of the cult, doing everything that the cult said, to the point to where Watchtower and, their mega rich people massively attacked my name and stuff, and lots of different stuff happened. But I'm still standing from that, but thankfully. But, Watchtower showed me their true colors in the end, that they worked closely with Israel, they worked closely with the Jews, and the Jews are actually very good at, they're well known for making money off of human suffering, just like what we're seeing in different parts of the Middle East now. They're known for profiting off of making very evil profits. And so I seen what they were all about. And as a minority in the United States, and a person with a disability or a few disabilities, there was really no reason for me to keep giving what I didn't have. And it's unrealistic. It was unrealistic. And besides that, I was really like a 5-year-old because everybody, and I find that everybody in Watchtower and other people will do their best to keep a lot of information from me, to keep me like a 5-year-old. But then when I got out, I say, wow. And I mean, things are so much better. I can't even believe I was at that point in Watchtower being told that was right. I mean, I'm so much more alive and stuff. It's like, I look back then, I mean, I'm like, that's a point of death, really. That's not a point of life. That's not a point of happiness. That's not a point of life. That's a point of fear. That's a point of, especially young people being fearful like that, when we really should be focusing on mastering something that comes natural to us, mastering a skill,
Right.
getting documents behind it, getting the experience, more importantly, because you can have the paper, but getting that experience and working with other experienced people to learn more, but just live in fear, all this and that. But so to answer your question, leaving was going to happen. I was either going to be disposed of, which pretty much happened. I was going to be either disposed of or I was going to leave. So I started to kind of leave on my own at endemic, but then I ended up being disposed of. So
when you say you ended up being, I'm sorry, Emil, when you said you ended up being disposed of, could you elaborate on exactly what that means to you?
Okay, sure. So it's a few different things, but the thing is though, let me go to that chapter. I have a chapter on disposal. Probably explain it better. But all right. Use,
Emil,
reuse, discard. Huh?
I'm so sorry, Emil, a little thrown off. You know what? Earlier I had my phone muted and I was talking to you and had no idea I was muted. And then Rick came on, probably saying, well, what's going on with her? I didn't introduce the show. I want to know if that's all right with you real quick.
Yeah, go ahead and do what you have to do.
And Emil, again, I really want to thank you for coming on. We are all excited to have you on,
right.
Especially the writer, because a writer is able to say things in a way that average everyday people just don't have that talent. I just wanted to welcome everyone into the show today.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Today is Sunday, August 25th. This is what we call Six Screen Sunday. We only have it every other Sunday. And this show is ex-Jehovah's Witnesses share their Watchtower story. This is the story where you talk any way you want to talk, tell your story in a way that works best for you. And we have a special guest, Emil, who is an author. If I got it right, you wrote 2 books, did you, Emil?
Yes, 2 books regarding cults.
Well, serious kudos to that. And before the show ends, I do know you're going to tell me how I can get your book so the audience can get your book. And so I have a couple questions, if it's okay. How did you come to be in the Watchtower in the first place? How did you ever get caught up in that?
Well, I was actually raised in it, and it actually was good. I'm actually glad. I actually was in good congregations growing up as a kid. That went well. But that wasn't real life, being a kid wasn't real life, wasn't the real world. But I think that the cult, are we good to go? Everyone's live. Everything is squared up with the tech stuff before I continue.
Everything is just fine, my brother.
Okay.
Sounds like you had basically a decent beginning. You had love. You felt comfortable being in the Watchtower. I call it the Watchtower fantasy bubble, where everything makes sense. Everything's working. You're in the right religion. Jehovah loves you. Armageddon's coming very soon. You get to be in a paradise, and and everything's hearts and flowers, but there comes a time where something just isn't feeling right anymore. What the heck happened? No, you go ahead now and just whatever comes to your heart.
Well, you can. Well, if you wanna ask me questions, but these, and I'll let them know about the books in the end. But yeah, if you want to ask questions, I'm open to answering questions about what I think about it. But
yeah,
I was when you.
Go ahead, sweetheart.
Oh, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, I kind of like to have a starting place. For me, myself, I heard that you were basically, I get the feeling you were happy when you were first growing up in the Watchtower. I assume you had a good, loving congregation and you felt happy. You felt like you belonged. You were in the right place. Is that so far correct, pretty much, when you were a child?
Yes. Yeah, I would say that. Mm-hmm.
And then gradually,
but I would say that.
Well, usually when you're happy as a child, somewhere along the line, you start to think, because, you're 10, 12, 13, you start to have, what's up with this and how come that, and what did that brother mean when he said such and such? There's this time where you kind of start to wonder about things, and I'm wondering if that happened to you.
I was just so slow and innocent that I just was happy, and obedient.
Mm-hmm.
I was a good child, so but I wasn't the smartest. Like I said, have a few disabilities and a very thin minority, but I wasn't really interested in a lot of worldly things, like I would say, like a lot of lustful pleasures and everything as a kid. I mean, I just wasn't inclined towards those kind of things or other youthful things. So that wasn't really, and really I did it out of my want. I did it out of, I wasn't forced to. When I got baptized, got baptized to do God's will for life.
How old were you?
But the way I see it.
How old were you when you got baptized?
I was 11.
11?
Yes, ma'am.
So you were Brother Emil, fully believing, feeling like, wow, I'm pleasing Jehovah. Jehovah loves me. I'm on my way to the paradise. I'm 11 years old and I'm a brother. That must have kind of been a heady experience. Were you happy at the time?
Oh, yeah. Well, it was good. Like I said, all of that was good. But I think that, your dedication to God and Jesus, that's something lifelong. And so that's not, they say that it's only to their cult. Once you do that, you're now locked into their cult, and their cult is God. And you are going to be faithful to their cult. And that's where, in my book as well, I make this clear in my book that how they say, whenever they say Jehovah or God, they really are talking about their cult. They're not talking about God. And so, that's why my books, for example, this one, I just was talking about, I was asked why I kind of left. Here's the mental health part. I was saying that my mental health wasn't good. I was depressed from making bad decisions, from the cult saying to live in fear and all this. So part of that, live for today, there's no tomorrow. This is one of the most powerful methods of high control in a cult. Because many cults all believe that the world is going to be destroyed, the members constantly live on edge and in fear. Many members of cults are deceived into not making good decisions and not preparing for the long run. Members are told that they will not see old age or that the world will end any day at any random time. I recall the mental distress of such beliefs. Living in such fear made for hasty decisions, poor money management, depression, caused me to live in survival mode. Many youth are robbed of their lives messing with cults. If you obey the call with 100% submission at the cost of a future and at the cost of your very life. To find Jesus does not require a cult for people seeking Jesus. Your cold obedience is to man, and you are really serving the interests of men or women. You are serving the interests of mankind or womankind. I believe that anybody at any age can make a success out of themselves. However, whatever age that you leave a cult is good in my opinion. And so that's some of, I won't read all of that section, but under the manipulation part, I'll read a part on decisions and whatnot. But there's this, under manipulation, I have direct manipulation, indirect manipulation, codependency, and decisions. But I'll probably read the codependency one because a lot of people who are leaving are realizing just how broken they are. Like, we think we're good mentally, we think we're fine, and then we realize, wow, we're so codependent. And I talk about it in my book. I've used a comparison. I compare the members to being like babies. But it says codependency. Where do I start on this? Cults absolutely love to make members codependent on someone else. The cult will make you first codependent on them. They do this by their weekly indoctrination programs. Some are even daily. It all starts with a lie that you cannot make your own decisions, and the lie, I'm sorry.
Why are you sorry? I'm just listening.
Oh, were you trying to, okay, I thought you were trying to say something.
No,
it says, some are even daily. It all starts with a lie that you cannot make your own decisions, and a lie that you need the cult rather than God to help you with those decisions. The cult claims that everybody in the whole world is bad, and even their members are bad. It must be breastfed like infants. The cult does not trust their members to leave for as much as one single month without getting into moral trouble. It is interesting how powerful lies can be and how advantageous lies are for cults. Cults openly lie to their members, saying that you need them instead of God. Cults openly lie saying that you are a corrupted being, when really the cult is corrupt. All in all, plain and simple, members are the problem and the cult is the solution. That all, of course, is not true. Most people in the world are good people and have good moral conduct. Anyone can have a relationship with Jesus and Yahweh without a building and without money. The effects of such codependency training are adults who literally need someone else to be happy. Adults who rely heavily upon others for emotional support, adults who cannot reason honestly, adults who are delusional. The effects extend down to clownism because the cult indoctrination is man-made and does not serve everyone. Decisions. Making decisions for ourselves was something we all learned as kids and teenagers. What the cult does is take that out of your hand and make all decisions for you. The decisions that the cult makes for you are bad for you, good for them. For example, telling members to quit their jobs because the world is about to end, or telling members not to pursue higher education, or telling members not to apply themselves to anything of the real world. More dangerous examples include tearing one from their support system, family, friends, and community. In the real world, it is an insane decision to trust complete strangers over your support system, community, family, and friends who you've known for years. As crazy as it is, people are too blind to see having a temporary high of something different. Still, for others who have been in the cult for years, they are beyond stupid to think that the cult cares anything about them, their future, and well-being. To the cult, you are just a number, a statistic. Not only are you disposable, but you will likely be disposed of when you have nothing left to give because you made bad choices and handed your life to the cult. The cult makes terrible decisions for members that effectively steal futures that otherwise could have been so bright. And then that's The mental prison chapter is next. The effects on members' mental health is just sad. Not just the effects, but the large number of people affected. Many of them know something is wrong. Members are trying to make sense of insanity and take the loss. So much damage is being done to members' mental health. I would say very plainly that cults are basically like psych wards. The narcissism could not be higher. The denialism of reality could not be higher. The delusionalism could not be higher. The insanity. I'm going to drink some water real quick. Okay. The denialism of reality could not be higher. The delusionalism could not be higher. The insanity could not be any higher. The codependency could not be any higher. What is really sad is how mentally abusive cults are, and members grow to be so codependent that they need the cult to live. It's basically like a very bad drug that's highly addictive. The drug does damage, but the person is codependent upon it. It is the same with cults. And so I'm at the insanity part. This is what I really wanted to get to, the insanity, then delusionalism, narcissism, and codependency. And this is under the mental prison chapter. Cults flourish in insanity. It is not insane for the cult to use people. After all, the cult is acting out of selfishness. It is, however, insane for members to stay in a cult that is causing them untold harm. That is what all cults do. Cults target the mind, I would say more than anything else. Cults basically make their subjects particularly mentally ill and have them socially hijacked to be controlled like robots. Members who stay in cults are often miserable, unhappy, in poverty, and end up in tough situations quite often. Even so, the cult still keeps telling members to throw away their lives for them. The cult selfishly tells members to not work full-time. The cult tells members not to make themselves and their health a priority. The cult has a problem with members taking care of themselves. The cult tells members that everybody not in the cult are strangers. Yes, even friends and family. Cult members head straight to the trap, going full speed. Of course, it's not about what's best for members. It's about what's best for the cult. Delusionalism. Cults, as the one I was in, place members in delusions. There were so many. Where do I start? There's the first illusion that most of the world was bad and only the cult was good. There was the delusion that real life didn't matter and only the cult mattered. There was the delusion that the world was inflicting harm on members when really the cult's own insanity, ignorance, and selfishness inflicted harm to members. And there was the delusion of how the world works from the book. We all know that the world doesn't go by the book. No one does, including the cult. Narcissism. The cult's narcissism is unmatched. Not only is the cult extremely narcissistic, but the narcissism rubs off on others. Members become narcissistic over time who are not narcissists when they join. Cult members do not mind their business, and it's no wonder they are always at odds with others. They do not stay in their lane. Further, cult members expect perfection from everyone, which is really rude, unrealistic, and unattractive. They are quick to impose their views and their man-made opinions on others. Cult people dress their opinions up as God's word. They will go so far as saying that they are the most high God, when really they are just men. If our Creator wanted life to be the way these narcissists and cults want it to be, he or she would have made it that way. Codependency. This is one of the greatest things that keeps people in bondage. When you're in a cult, mostly all of these things cannot be seen because they are when you're in a cult, mostly all of these things cannot be seen because there are multiple cognitive techniques being used on members to make sure that you don't see. Members become like adult infants who must be spoon-fed. I'm not joking. It happened to me. It happens to many people, and you don't realize how much damage the cult has done to you until you leave. You don't realize how much it has changed you until you leave. If you have been there like I have, just know that it's not how you start, it's how you finish that counts. The effects of codependency are severe. Members of cults have a need for someone else to fill in their emotional gaps. Members of cults need someone else to validate them and think for them. All of these are hard to break away from long after leaving the cult. I believe that it can take years to fully heal from all of the cult's damage and be independent emotionally and socially. Cult members are not the ones going crazy. I highly recommend breaking away from such people and ultimately the cult, which is the source of such mental abuse. While I recommend leaving such insanity, I also do not judge those who decide to stay in the cult. If you decide to stay in the cult, at least you cannot say that you was not warned. And so that was the chapter about the mental prison. And Mr. Rick asked me kind of why I left, and the insanity and lots of different things. And so that was one chapter. But did you have any thoughts or questions for me?
Bless your heart, Emil. You know, you're just touching on so many things, and a lot of the things that you're talking about are things that are totally dedicated, you know, PME, I call them, you know, physically in, mentally in, they're believing, they're in God's organization, this is the greatest life ever, we're in the truth, everything the governing body and faithful slave tells us is from Jehovah. And like you said, they create this dependency, not just mentally, but emotionally. And as long as you're in the programming and believing whatever they tell you to believe, you are like that adult child. You know, just believe, don't think for yourself, and you're touching on these things. But the things that you're bringing out, which are absolutely the truth, the actual PME, the ones who are still in and believing, even if they're miserable, they think that you're wrong. You know, like, oh no, this is an apostate trying to get me to leave Jehovah. But that's how a cult works. If you start to wake up and question and say, this isn't right, I don't feel right about this, you know, they're telling me not to think for myself, and they're trying to control everything, and, you know, this doesn't feel right. Oh, you're talking like an apostate. For you to be able to wake up and to be able to pin down these specifics that you have just mentioned and read is amazing to me. I'm kind of blown away right now. I was curious, however, Emil, about what time in your life, what age, or what time in your life in the organization did you start to question? I mean, at some point you were questioning, because before you were happy, you get baptized. I'm sorry, did you say you were 11 when you got baptized?
I was 11. Mm-hmm.
That is, you know, even at 11, I remember 11, you're just so bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and oh my goodness, I want to serve Jehovah. So at some point, you had, to me, in my opinion, had to have started to see things that just didn't feel right or made you uncomfortable, or things that you wondered about, and maybe you mention it to this brother or that sister, and they basically maybe chastise you where, you know, you just need to trust in Jehovah and need to pray more and need to trust the governing body or the faithful slave. Did that happen to you? And how did you get to really get firm that you knew you were onto something?
Well, that's a very good question. Let's see. Well, it just took a little bit of living, you know, as I made observations. Honestly, just as I made observations, um, I started to see that what people said and what they did was two different things. Um, and just overall, like, and so I started to see. So I went ahead and bought myself a King James at the started the pandemic, and I was reading the King James, and the King James was really good. I really enjoyed it, um, and that's when I really started building that personal relationship. I mean, I've been having a personal relationship, but what their lies and everything, it didn't come true. Like they claim if you stop going to the hall, you miss a meeting or two. They'll say if you miss just a few meetings or something, you're deranged spiritually, you're in spiritual harm, you may have committed a sin as a young person, and it's like sex before marriage, and they can't get me with that because that never happened. So when nothing happened, I mean they were shocked and blown away because um, I walk it and I talk. So everybody is not that way. I get it if they're hypocrites. I'm one that's not, and but I kind of got the King James and I kind of got open minded. I got more open minded, started looking into other things, and ultimately, I mean, I kind of try to make amends with Watchtower, after the pandemic and all, but they did not want peace. They wanted anger. 2022, they showed their anger and rage. Not just them, but 2022, a lot of us know around the United States, extremists were really revving the heat up everywhere in 2022. They were even trying to overthrow the government. Here, like in certain states, they were trying to like riot the Capitol, like the insurrectionists on January 6th. So it was pretty bad. And so I can never see myself ever supporting. I will never support them again. And I see what they're about. And they work very closely. I learned that they work very closely with the Jews in Israel and these people with so much money and these corporations. And also, I might add policing agencies. They work closely with different policing agencies. So, I don't want any part of it. And then I learned, and then another weird thing was how they monitor people at home. They monitor people, and I don't know what this technology is called exactly. I know that I read something about Robert J. Straw. He's a military scientist. He died now, but Robert J. Straw was a military scientist who leaked a lot of stuff to us, and he was saying that in the 1970s, how they were building this spectacular satellite technology that can look at license plates and all kind of stuff. And but you can look it up, Robert J. Straw. But whatever satellite technology they're using, they're spying on members and stuff. So I found that odd. Like, why are they spying? Why are they have to spy on their members? So that was another thing. And ultimately, when I saw that they were one and one with the kingdom of Satan, that they were one with the Jews, and literally Satan worship, how they are not for Jesus at all, how they are against Jesus, how they persecute Christians, how they are so self-righteous, they feel like we're the only ones. Everybody else is bad. And if you realistically burn bridges with, let's say you're in a town, let's just say you're in a town in Wyoming, for example, with 100 people. Let's say there's 10 places. So there's 10 places for you might get a job at. You're new in town. People will be hospitable to you. They'll probably take you and your family in if you had to for a night. But they're just good people. And you say, well, you know what? Everybody's bad. So you burn bridges. Let's say you burn bridges with every single 100 persons in that town. That's just an example. It's like, well, what do you expect? You should expect misery. You should expect loneliness. You should expect no one to really want to deal with you. You should expect to be criticized. You should expect all of that. And then you persecute Christians and you give people who, and this is the thing, they have a very serious problem with members who acknowledge Jesus as God's son and who acknowledge Jesus and who say that we need Jesus. They give them a very hard time, you know, and I don't know if you all know, but Israel is really not big on Jesus at all. But Watchtower, they're just pretending now. You know, what they're doing now, they're just pretending we love Jesus. Or, you know, they don't love Jesus. They're just pretending. And I really believe they want a repeat of 2022, to make a lot of noise again, to usher all of that hatred and anger and maniac, just all the maniacs can come out again. But, you know, I just don't see myself going back to that, you know. And then when you think about it, it's almost like communism, because they'll tell the youngest, the nice young brothers and sisters, let's say graduating high school, get on the regular pioneer list and donate all of your time to us. It's like communism, because they want, or worse, it might be worse than communism, because they want all of your time. They want all of your free labor, nothing in exchange. You don't get anything. So and they tell this to these young people, and it's not right. But communism, I think, like the CCP, like in China, they control their thoughts, they control the media, they control everything. They can't take in this, they can't take in that. I mean, I see a very similar correlation to Watchtower, how they control everything members take in, with like the app and the website. They control everything they take in. They monitor them. They make sure that everything that they're doing, everything exactly how they want it to be. And a lot of those things are self-imposed rules. They're not in scripture at all. And so another thing too, I support women. And so when like Paul saying that women shouldn't look beautiful, and speaking against the LGBTQIA, I don't believe in that either, because I think Paul was doing a very cowardly move. Instead of protecting children, he should have said that, you know, don't touch kids. But instead of that, he said, you know, we'll attack this thin minority. And the ancient LGBTQIA was very thin back then. It was a small minority that didn't even have to be mentioned. He said that so that he took sides with the very large amounts of Pharisees, who many of which were heavily engaged with that culture of pedophilia back then. And Jesus called them out all the way back then for it. He called them out as being snakes, you know. And so yeah, I just I don't see myself ever going back. And they're not Christian, definitely not Christian.
Okay. Well, can we take a little break right there, because you mentioned a lot of things in a lot of directions. And this is very powerful, my brother Emil, what you're saying. I see you as a young child believing the hype, believing the mind control cult indoctrination that, you know, I call it the Watchtower bubble. You know, everything just feels right. You're serving Jehovah. You're in his organization. You want to serve him. You want to feel his approval. But there's a time when you start to see things that really bother you, which you did. You got a hold of your King James Bible and wanted to kind of see what a real Bible said. And you could see a lot of things that didn't actually show support for what the Watchtower organization was doing and is doing. And you picked up on how basically they want you to not think for yourself. They want to have complete control of your mind, your thinking ability, your choices in life. And as long as you're basically a properly programmed Watchtower drone, believing what they tell you, serving the way they tell you, acting the way they tell you, and make sure you're promoting the cult the way they tell you, and only trust them as your leader, as your only source of truth, like they tell you. And if you have questions, something's wrong with you, and they'll look at you with suspicion, because the Watchtower is very, very closely patterned after the Third Reich. It is exactly like communism. And in communism, it's all about the big brother, the party. Your absolute number one only obligation is to serve the party, obey the party, absolutely believe whatever the party is teaching, but the number one rule of the party, and that correlates to Watchtower or any other cult, the number one requirement is absolute loyalty, no questions. If you question, or if they think you're doubting the faithful slave, the governing body, they don't ask you, are you having problems with your relationship with Jehovah? Do you believe the Bible is God's word? Do you follow Jesus, and his principles and his example of how to serve Jehovah? No, they want to pin you down to find out where your loyalty lies, because it had better be with them. Not Jehovah, not Jesus, not the Bible. It had better be with them. And if you're quietly, like you, really thinking, I need to look into this, I need to figure this out, I need a real Bible, I need to really look into this, and you're seeing the codependency, the narcissism, the cult control, and the fact that they claim to love Jesus, follow Jesus, Jesus is their king, which is absolute complete bullshit. And yet they are lying. And you have to face the fact that these people that you trusted, people that you believe taught you the truth about God, people that taught you to believe that this is the only true religion and you follow them, you're going to be in paradise, that they lie and they lie and they lie about the lies. And when you start to feel troubled, you have a problem. Something's wrong with you, Emil. Is it kind of ringing true?
Yes, that's just what they say.
Anne-Marie, could I ask a question of Emil?
Oh, please. This is our beautiful sister, Susan. Go ahead, Susan.
Okay, if it's okay. You were talking about one of the books you wrote, and you were mentioning the mental prison chapter. And you said that they used multiple cognitive techniques in order to imprison your mind. Could you kind of elaborate on that a little bit? Because you said you can't see them when you're in the Watchtower, but you can see them once you get out. Could you tell us some of the cognitive techniques that the Watchtower uses to keep you ensnared?
Yes, ma'am. So I'll do my best. So one major way is they want unidirectional thinking. They want you to think in one direction, and they want you to give them the benefit of the doubt every time, and to ignore red flags that you should definitely be raising. And it happens when you start studying with them normally. And have you all ever had like this time where y'all are doing something, but you're just a little distracted, like you did something, but you're not aware of it? Like, let's just say you go and you eat dinner together as a couple, let's say Mr. Rick and whoever, or y'all go in the kitchen, put your plates down, and like 1 minute passes and y'all didn't realize what y'all did. Has that ever happened to anybody?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so that's like a state of where the mind is operating subconsciously. And so they kind of interact with our subconscious mind to the point to where things that we should pick up on, our mind just is trained to kick it out, and is trained to subconsciously just go along with it, if that makes sense. So I don't want to be confusing, but unidirectional thinking, where don't don't think with common sense. That's what they're really big on. They don't want us to use common sense. Like, this isn't adding up, sir. This isn't adding up. Especially how does this add up if Jesus loved women? Jesus' ministry was funded by women. Why shouldn't women be able to talk? Why shouldn't women be able to be leaders of the church? Why shouldn't women be able to write their own books and histories? And, why are women so oppressed? Well, and then they'll just open up the Bible to something that Paul said or Timothy. And it's like, well, it doesn't make sense. I'm sorry.
Oh, please don't be sorry. Actually, when they came together in Nicene, and I forgot what his name was, Cornelius, or I don't know what his name was, but he basically told all the religious leaders, you guys get together and have all the holy writings, and you guys...
I'm sorry. I'm back now.
No worries. I didn't.
You can go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, you were talking about how, why aren't women in positions of leadership or teaching or whatever? And Watchtower loves to point to where Paul in the Bible says, basically, I don't permit a woman to teach. She should sit there and be quiet and, ask her husband if she has questions when she gets home. But yet, I was remembering when in the Council of 19, the leader wanted all of the religious leaders to come together and go through all the holy writings and decide what is going to make it into the Bible and what's going to be discarded as irrelevant. And there were books like the Book of Mary, and there were books of like Book of Thomas and a Book of Judas, and there were all these different books that we were not really allowed to be made aware of. And I think Kim Mikey calls these books the Apocryphas, books that were basically not really taken as seriously. Oh, we don't need to learn about those. But we are seeing the narcissism and the masochism where men are the rulers and the woman, you don't have any say. Shut up. You have less of a brain and we don't need to listen to you. But yet they have to obey. But it's kind of, there's a lot of suffering when you don't have balance. So that's kind of what I was getting from you. They just want you to think the way they tell you to think and don't think about it, because even didn't recently, oh my goodness, was it the 2013 November 22nd or November 15th, I think it was, Watchtower, where basically Watchtower was saying there may come a time when the governing body or the faithful slave will be giving you directions that to your mind won't make sense or doesn't make any kind of sense according to a normal logical brain, but basically you need to obey anyway because it could be in your life. And it's kind of paraphrasing, but that's pretty much what it said. And that kind of ties in with what you're saying, Emil, about how it's all about control, and not leading us to serve Jehovah or Jesus. It's all about, in the end, because they never really say it directly, we don't want you really serving Jehovah, we want you to serve us. But they are always equating Jehovah with the organization. We need to follow Jehovah and his organization. We need to put faith in Jehovah and in his organization. They're constantly equating in the minds of those who have already had their minds taken over by Watchtower call. Always equate Jehovah, the organization. So if you in any way disrespect an elder or disagree, disagreement is considered disrespect and disloyalty. Any way you're disrespectful by asking questions or not agreeing or saying that doesn't make sense, you're automatically flagged as an apostate or a potential apostate or trying to cause divisions. They want you basically no brains, just be automated, perfectly indoctrinated, working according to your programming. They want you to be a fully functioning programmed Watchtower drone. Pretty much it?
Right. And to answer Mrs. Susan, to go on with that, I spoke about it in my book, but I'm still on another chapter. But to put it in my own words, they don't want us to use common sense. They want common sense to be pushed to the back of your mind. They want asking questions, being aware, awareness, consciousness, all of that to be pushed to the back of our mind. Just like if they say, you should pioneer, regular pioneer, and you say, well, I have kids or I have kids and everything, or grandkids, I want to spend time doing this, I want to do that. And they will say, well, they will demand. It's sad because they will actually demand that you, and the thing is, Watchtower has gotten a lot more aggressive than what they were, because, I guess they're angry at themselves, but I mean, the way I see it, I think they hate themselves because they don't have anything better to do with their time than to harass people, stalk people and everything. But to answer her question as best as I can, they use unidirectional thinking, and they prepare everything for you. They give you the magazine to read, to indoctrinate you more. And that actually kind of goes into indoctrination, which I have a chapter on here. But they give you, and you look at the Tuesday, how they made it like the midweek meeting. They have it's like 10 meetings in one. So it's like, instead of just having a regular study, it's now like 10 things in one of severe indoctrination to make sure that you get it in your mind and, it's sick. But, I think we were speaking about the books of the Bible. I believe that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Jesus' writings, the Exodus and some more are very valid books, but a lot of it I don't think is valid. But definitely Jesus' books, and Jesus warned us that the Antichrist was coming. And Paul, and nowadays Paul, a lot of people, prefer Paul's teachings over Jesus. Jesus taught one thing, Paul taught another, and Watchtower does not uphold Jesus' teachings. They say that they're very merciless, whereas Jesus was very forgiving. And so and to expound with Miss Susan, I went to my chapter. I'm not going to read all of it, but they use scaremongering with the mind. The world is going to end. They're going to be destroyed by God forever. And then scaremongering effects. So I guess this is kind of to answer a question. When you hear that the world is about to end any day, that has an effect on the mind for the worse. Not just your mental health, but everything else. Your ability to make good decisions is also affected. Worrying about the end of the world is something pointless because that is out of your hands. This is a very common scaremongering tactic that cults use to stop members from living and doing things that actually count in life. You're going to be destroyed by God forever. The Most High does not need any man to give a decree that this one or that one will perish and have no hope after death. Out of arrogance and anger, many cult extremists have a love of death, and they really want people to die. They will say that if you challenge them, they're going to hell, or that you cannot be redeemed through Jesus any longer. Those are all lies. Those are humans who have put themselves on the throne of Jesus and on the throne of Yahweh, the Most High. These kinds of sayings are just an expression of their anger, especially because they themselves know that the cult is full of insanity, ignorance, and stupidity. Scaremongering effects. Members are fearful to live their lives. Members do not have general peace of mind, and their mental health is affected. And so here's another one. High control methods, conscious manipulation. Perhaps the number one way the cult controls their members, I would say, is through conscious manipulation, using people's good motives against them by convincing people that handing your whole life to their cult is the right thing to do. Then using guilt to trip people to trip over things that don't even matter, and highly controlling the people. I can't imagine how unhappy and miserable people are in that cult. And then fear. On top of the scaremongering, members who disagree know that they will lose all of their friends. Persons who disagree on the teaching or doctrine will be re-educated even more to make sure that the person understands. When a person just disagrees and does not change their mind, they are kicked out of the cult and are attacked very heavily with smear campaigns, lies, slander, and cult persecution. And then there's like the live for today, there's no tomorrow. Because many cults all believe that the world is going to be destroyed, the members constantly live on edge and in fear. Members are deceived into not making good decisions and not preparing for the long run. And so I think I may have touched on some of this direct. But yes, it's and then worst of all, they end up exposing people, use, reuse, discard. The cult uses members, and uses members. They make sure that they always run it by members to give more of their time to volunteer and work for free. After members work for free, live a life of self-neglect, and throw their lives away for the cult, it catches up with them in time. The thing about karma or the boomerang is that you reap good and bad. Even if you were deceived into throwing away your life, you still have to live with the consequences. You still have to live with the what if and had I only known moments and regret. All of that time you spent in the cult, you could have been doing so much living, loving, exploring, having good time. You could have been applying yourself. Personally, I find modern technology of phones, games, and computers have an effect on time wasting, but it doesn't come close to the damage of cults. For the seasoned, older ones who have left the cult late in life, my heart goes out to you. The cult will finally discard of you when you are unable to keep giving, or you start to take care of yourself. And so, I have different chapters in the book, but I hope I answered. Did I answer Miss Susan's question? Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. I especially like the point you brought out, how they take away your peace of mind through fear, and that they don't prepare you for life. And so, because you're not prepared for life, when you leave the cult, then you get scared and you want to run back because you're not prepared for life.
And they set you up to feel that you made a terrible mistake. Oh my God, I left Jehovah. What was I thinking? My whole life is falling apart. You don't trust yourself because you've never really thought for yourself and run your own life, made your own choices, because Watchtower makes sure that they micromanage you from the cradle to the grave. And if you ever break away from that, your brain is going, well, wait a minute, I thought you didn't need me. Oh, okay, I'll try to think for you. But it just feels so foreign and wrong. And they have all these triggers that are triggered in the programming. If you ever stray away from the absolute strict rules of the cult, believe us, follow us, don't question, serve us, obey us, always be loyal, promote us, defend us, don't look at any websites we don't approve of, don't believe any of those apostate lies. I mean, they have you covered in every way, but Luce, it's amazing anybody ever is able to wake up like Susan and Rick and you, Emil.
Hey, Emery, this is Rick. What we'll do here, Emil, why don't we open up the phone lines and see if we can get some people to come in and say hello to you, and maybe they have some questions for you, and then we can talk about how people can get your book. Is it online? We'll see how that all goes. So why don't you do this? If you'd like to come in and say hello to Emil, ask him some questions. He gave us a lot here to think about today. So if you'd like to come in and say hello to Emil, hit *6 on your telephone pad. I think that would be the way to do it. And maybe you want to ask him some things that would be of interest to you coming out of the organization. This man has written a couple of books, so he seems like he's very knowledgeable on the subject. In fact, I'll kind of start by just checking in with you here, Emil. I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed. You took the time to sit down and write this all down. No, not everybody does that, but the witnesses made such a scar in your life that you had to say, gee, I got to put this somewhere. So how long did it take you, Emil, to put these books together?
Well, I did it pretty fast. I wrote both of them in 1 month because you have to fight, for your rights. And these, not just Watchtower, but these extremists, these cults, different ones. They're working together to basically take a lot of our rights away, take women's rights away. And I've always been one to stand up to cowards. And so I'm standing up to them writing these books. In fact, speaking of standing up to cowards, my other book, Exposing the Holier Than None, on the cover page of the book, I have boxing gloves.
Well, it's good cover. My goodness. I do believe we had another caller on here.
Yeah.
We do have another caller. Do you want to come back in Chicago? You're on with us. Go ahead.
Yes, Rick. It's Mark Tapp.
Mark,
Hey, how you doing, Rick?
Doing
How's
good,
it going?
Yes.
I'm back. Yeah, I figured having a Sunday program, but yeah, yes, Rick. I've been listening in for a while. You got a good show here today. This gentleman, his name is Emil. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. How you doing, sir? Well, I got to say, your story is really good. I like your story, and you got a lot of strong points that you've made. Really, really strong points. And in fact, you hit everything right on target. You're like right on the money with everything I've always, thought about and agreed with in regards to the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Watchtower Society and the governing body. That's the same exact type of thoughts I've had. Is that same type of thinking and opinion and how I've said it and talked about it throughout my lifetime and my bad experiences with the Jehovah's Witnesses. You were just right on target because almost everything you covered, I totally agreed with and always would both think as well as talk the same exact things and stuff that you were specifically covering in full, complete detail. That's amazing. And I'm very, very impressed, sir. It's downright amazing. And that one story you're saying, like when you gave that example, like when you, and just please correct me if I make any mistakes here, but you were specifically talking about, like if you're a person in a small town and you burn your bridges, and you're right. I totally agree. Because, in some ways, I won't lie to you, and maybe in a lot of ways, that's happened to me in the past where, you wind up being isolated. People don't like you. They want nothing to do with you. They badmouth you, talk bad about you. Right. And they criticize you, and you wind up with, being lonely, loneliness and being isolated and just losing out. And you're right about that. And that has happened to me. Not that I did it on purpose exactly, but it's happened to me in the past. And I think a lot of it happened because I wasn't prepared for the real world like I really could have been and really, really should have been, all thanks to the Jehovah's Witnesses and the stupid Watchtower organization. I could have been more well prepared for the real world. Unfortunately, I wasn't because I was in the Jehovah's Witnesses from, a child, going on up, to my teen years and then still living with my family who were Jehovah's Witnesses into my 20s. So, of course, that was a major, major mistake. But, yeah, you covered everything really, really well. It's exactly almost the same exact informational experiences that I went through in my lifetime with the Jehovah's Witnesses. And I must tell you, sir, it was a nightmare, and I'm sure it was a nightmare for you too. But you're really good, sir. I'm real impressed. Good job.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job.
My book. Thank you. Thank you, sir. If you want to buy my book, it's only 99 cents on Amazon.com. It's called In the Name of Cult: The Climax of Narcissism and Insanity. That's the one I just read out.
Yeah. Yep, that's right.
It's almost free.
Thank you. See, I would look to do that. I'll check it on Amazon. And it's called, what's the title again?
In the Name of Cult. So,
In the Name of Cult. Okay, and your last name?
Yeah, kind of like.
Well, could I mention what's your name? Because if it would help, so I know the author. So it's sometimes the author's name.
Just do In the Name of Cult. Do you have a pen and paper?
Yeah, go ahead. In the Name of Cult.
In the Name of Cult: The Climax.
The climax. Okay.
Of narcissism.
Okay. The climax of narcissism.
Yes, and insanity, and it'll be the first one to come up because there's only like one of those. But
okay,
people say, well, in the name of God, this and that. I put in the name of cult.
Right. Yes. In the Name of Cult. Well, that's a good title, and that sounds like a really good book. I'm sure I could get a lot out of it.
It's only 99 cents. So.
Yeah, that's pocket change. So that's perfect. Yeah, I wouldn't mind reading it and getting something really good out of it. But you're right about that. Cults are very narcissistic, and most of the people in these cults are big time, no doubt, big time, major narcissists. And I don't think so. I know so, because that was always my experience with the Jehovah's Witnesses. They were total narcissists, bullies, abusers, very high controllers, and just total jerks. Idiots, assholes. They were. And pardon me for saying that, but that's the truth. Okay, that's the truth. They were just bullies. They loved to push people around, control them. And if you dare started to defend yourself, which I would do, but the second you did that, they're like right in your face and say, "Don't you dare talk to me like that. Don't you dare talk to me like that. Don't you ever talk to me like that, you stupid jerk idiot." Like, they really get like real intimidating and very, very threatening to you. That's what they were doing to me when I would defend myself and start, defending myself, no matter, regardless. They would say, "No, you don't talk to me like that. How dare you talk to me like that?" Like, they're the authority. They rule over me. They tell me what to do. I don't tell them anything. They tell me what to do, and I better obey it. And if I don't obey it, well, they're going to bully me all the way until the goddamn cows come home. And what do they care? They'll give me some kind of consequences and major punishment, and abuse. What do they care? And and when you tell them, "Now, come on, man, that's not fair. That's not right. That's very wrong. And you're not being fair to me. And come on, man, you should know better than that. Come on, I have my rights, and you shouldn't, what do you think this is? You don't do something like that. That's very, very wrong, And they're saying, hey, they tell you, don't contradict me. Don't you dare contradict me. You don't contradict me. I know what I'm doing, and I know what I'm talking about, and I know I'm right. So you do it my way, mister. These are the consequences, and this is the punishment. And I tell them now, you can tell them that they're wrong all you want. They're not going to agree with you. They're going to tell you that's your perception. That's your perception. That's just the way you see it. But that's not the truth. It's just mind games. It's mind games. It's just, mind games. It's gaslighting, big time gaslighting. I mean, and trust me on that one. Gaslighting is the name of the game with them too. And they just play the game, And you can tell me I'm right, and I can tell them, they have no right doing that. And, even, there's laws about that. That's against the law. And if there's laws about that and it's against the law, who the hell are you to be bullying me or take away things that belong to me? You don't have any right doing it. They say, "Oh, yes, I do, because I'm doing it in the name of Jehovah." They're making it clear. I'm doing it in the name of Jehovah. And if I'm doing it in the name of Jehovah, Jehovah's allowing me to just go ahead and take away from you what you should not have. Was it, illegal stuff? Was it drugs? No, nothing like that. It was all legal stuff. It was all mine, and they didn't have to agree with it. Okay, that's fine. You don't agree. You don't agree. State your opinion, then shut up. What's mine is mine. End of subject. Okay, I worked for it. I paid for it. Okay, I own it. And they're like, no. Right. I'm doing this in the name of Jehovah. They would get really, really just downright mean and nasty about it. Just ruthless and cruel about it, and very aggressive and hostile. No.
Hey, Mark, this is Rick.
Jehovah.
I don't want you to get too worked up here. I really don't.
I'm sorry, Rick, but you don't understand that it was a freaking nightmare. Think about it, Rick. Come on, how would you like it if someone took away things you worked for?
Oh no, I agree, Mark. I agree with you. There's no doubt. In fact, everything you said is correct. Everything that Emil has said is correct. You guys are on the same page. But
yeah, that's right. So I'm just letting you know.
I think
they got no business.
I think you have to move on. And I think all of us who left are really upset. I think it's all of us, because we all look at whether we lost physical things or time.
Right.
I think a lot of us are upset because we lost a lot of time.
Yeah, I'm upset about that.
But I mean, the thing is, though, we have to just keep moving forward. Like Mr. Rick was saying just now, we have to move forward and everything, and keep looking ahead. And actually, the book that I was reading out of, if you make it all the way to the end, I would talk about more hopeful things. I did talk about a lot of stuff, the cult this, cult that, but I said, I gave people hope at the end. You know,
Right.
when you leave, there's a life after the cult. There really
Right.
is. You just have to leave and take the first step. So if you've taken the first step, sounds like you did.
Right.
You know, that's very good.
Yeah, well, I'm doing my best, Emil. I'm doing the best I can. It's not easy, but I am, because you still live the nightmares. You still live the nightmares. It's trauma. It's freaking trauma, sir. It's just trauma. It's
sorry to hear that.
Stress. Understand, sir.
But we may have to, right? But we may have to get see if there's anyone else who wants to dial in to ask questions about the book or anything.
We had
Thank you for being
530. Thank you, Mark, for coming on. 530. You're on
Thank
with
you,
us.
Rick.
Go ahead, 530.
Thank you, Rick.
You want to come back? 530. Were you there with us? I saw you on there a short time ago. Boy, I'll tell you. You can see, Emil. You can see. I mean, you did. I'm glad that Mark was able to call in and share his thoughts with you. You can see how harmful the Watchtower can be to people. And now you get a book. It's only 99 cents. Everyone should be able to afford that. And I'm glad that you're not giving it away for free. I'm glad. You got to put a price on it, Emil. I'm even surprised you don't want to charge more. You know, people, I mean, I can show me that you're an honest-hearted man, but there should be a price on it so that people realize it's an important book to have. Well, thank you, Emil, for writing that book. Hey, if you want to come on before we do let this program go, we got another program come up here shortly. But if anyone has something to say to Emil, now I'm reading here in the chat. A person says that you ought to have your own program, Emil, here on the 6 screens. They said you sound like a really intelligent man, and that opportunity always exists for you. That opportunity always exists for you, Emil. So go ahead, hit star 6 if you want to come on. If not, we'll go to Anne Marie, and she can kind of wrap it up. And if someone want to say something, go ahead. You're on. Yep. No,
thank you so very much, Rick.
Yep. Thank you, Mac. Okay. All right, Anne Marie, back to you, and then we can kind of let this program go, and Emil can give all of the information you need so people can get his book. Go ahead, Anne Marie.
Okay, thank you, my brother Rick. Do I have a minute, 2 minutes, or you want me to wrap it up right now?
You got 5 minutes.
Oh, thank you so much. We do thank Mark for coming on, and it is true, and we all recognize that at whatever point it is, we hit a point or a stage, if you will, just like when somebody dies and you have to face death. There are stages of grief. You know, there might be shock, disbelief, that can't be true, but then you are faced with reality, and then there's the anger, and we bargain like, well, maybe if I go back to the organization, maybe I can fix this, or maybe I'm wrong. But when we realize exactly what was done to us, many of us get lost in the anger and the nightmares, realizing what was stolen from us. And I love, Emil, what you have done in a very calm, logical, sequential way, addressed each area of what this Watchtower cult has done to us, the mind control, the narcissistic, it's only about them. They don't care about you. You could kill yourself slaving away for them, but in the end, if you're no more use to them, they throw you away. They lie to you and expect you to believe their lies, or you're not faithful. You know, you're somehow disloyal, disrespectful, or whatever. And I really want to thank you for coming on today. Is there anything that you would like to add? Because like Rick said, you know, you have a very calm way about you. You're obviously very knowledgeable, and you pick up and share a lot of very important points that I think that we all need to really look at and calmly ponder and acknowledge and deal with, and hopefully rise above. And this is why I'm so glad you wrote your book, because each of us can go buy your book and take it and read it at our own pace and consider it. And then if we have emotional anger and responses, which is normal for all of us, it won't, you know, cause static on other people. Would you like to add any final words? Because we are getting short on time, my brother.
Yes, I would. So my book is, so I tried to make it as cheap as possible. so that everybody can afford it. I didn't want it to be too high. And so it's kind of on the Kindle edition, the digital edition, which you can download if you have a regular Android, any Android device, or even a laptop. The Kindle edition is 99 cents, and the paperback is $4.03 of In the Name of Cult. And I basically just price it low. It's not a long book. The way that I think and communicate, also being an autistic, I communicate very directly. So, I just couldn't make a 100, 200 page book. I mean, some people are very good at watering it down, but for me, it's like condensed. The information is there that you need, but it's like condensed. But I didn't price it that high. I just wanted everyone to be able to afford it. But it's on Amazon. And what I can do is I can go on this video later on today, and I can just post a link on the YouTube channel if you want under the video of the book, or I can. But it's In the Name of Cult. And there's another book that is encouraging cults. That there's some other books, but mine, it has the blue cover and the blue and yellow, In the Name of Cult. There's some other books that are nonsense about cults, but yeah, it's on Amazon. So I think I said it enough. If anyone wanted to buy it, they can write it down. They could have wrote down a title. What did you say?
No, I really appreciate your giving those details. You sound like a nuts and bolts person like me. Rick has a saying, we don't want to get lost in the weeds. Because when you get lost in the weeds or the details or the sub-stories and, all the other stuff, just stick to the point. What, solidifies the point or helps make the point clear. Let's do that, which you have done so very well. So we have the name of the book, In the Name of Cult, The Climax of Narcissism, 99 cents on Kindle through Amazon. And if you want a paperback, look for the one about cults that is blue and yellow on the cover. That helps. The visual helps a lot. I cannot wait to get your book. And I want to thank you, Emil, not only for coming on, taking the time to come on Six Screens and to share not only your story in the Watchtower, but what helped you to wake up, what you realized, what you came to realize, and the fact that you took the time to write it all out for those of us who just don't have your brain. We all need to see and to understand and to know what you see and understand and know. And you made that all happen because of your book writing, because you came on and helped us know what to look for. Any last words, my brother? I've really enjoyed having you on today.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. Thank you all, Mr. Rick, Ms. Susan, and you as well.
Thank you so much. Go ahead.
I just want to say, Emil, I want to thank you. This is Rick, and thank you for coming on last night. And I wish we could have spent a little more time with you, but I'm glad you came on today, and you're a man of your word. You said you come on, and you're here. Thank you. Thank you, Emil.
So I want to thank everyone coming on today, Six Screens Sunday. We had a beautiful author and ex-member of the Watchtower, Emil, come on and explain his observations, what he learned, and he has offered to share all of that in the book he wrote, In the Name of Cult, The Climax of Narcissism, which is available on Amazon. Today is Sunday, August 25th, 2024, and we do need to go back to our brother Rick and JW World News Sunday edition. Rick?
Well, thank you, Anne-Marie. Good job, and thank you. I'm glad you got through it all right. I really appreciate you putting forth the effort. Good girl. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Well, anyways, we are going to JW World News Sunday edition. Now, that is the news the Watchtower doesn't want us talking about, but we talk about it every Saturday night and every other Sunday right here on the Six Screens. I got some new articles here, some news that we didn't talk about last night, so I wanted to bring that up. So why don't you stay with us? Stay on this YouTube channel, stay on the Facebook channel, and we have a number of other programs coming up today. At 4 o'clock, we have the Christian Court. Now you say, well, what kind of a program is the Christian Court? Well, you know, in the world of Christianity, Christians sometimes would ask peculiar questions. You know, we couldn't really ask the Watchtower questions, could we? Well, we could ask them a question, but we couldn't question their answers. Well, Christians have questions, peculiar sometimes, and we have two scholars that will be on at 4 o'clock, and they will answer some of these peculiar questions that Christians have. And also at 5 o'clock, if you want some Bible questions answered, Jay Hess, he's the man. He was at one time associated with the Watchtower writing department, and he's coming on at 5 o'clock to answer your Bible questions. So we're going to end the program here. Thank you for all those that called in. We want to thank those as well writing on our different platforms here, YouTube and Facebook. Thank you very much. We'll end it here. Stay with us. The news is next.